In stats, we made two graphs today. Yesterday, we made a graph, if you were in third period, a stem plot of your shoe data. If you're in eighth period, we made a stem plot of your shoe data. So the first graph we made today in stats was a comparative stem plot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put third period's data on the left and eighth period's data on the right, and then we'll talk about it. So make sure you title it. We could call this LHS Stat Students Pairs of Shoes. Make sure you label which side is which. Over here I'm going to do third. Over here I'm going to do eighth. And you want to find the min and the max between the two periods. So both have a min of 2. And I believe eighth period had the max at 35. So we're going to make a stem plot by splitting the stems. I mean, you could make a normal one where you don't split the stems, but I decided I'm going to make one that splits the stems. So we're going to go from OL, the low ones digits, up to 3H. So what I'm going to do is make a few numbers, and then I'm going to hit pause, and it'll suddenly appear. So maybe try to make your graph without me and see if we get the same graph. So on the eighth period side, I will put a 6 right here, an 8 right here, a 9 right here, a 5 right here, and this is where it gets weird because the next number is an 11. All I'm going to do is write a 1. Whoops, sorry, not yet. It'll get weird in a second. So let's see, we have a 5, a 29. Okay, now is where it starts to look weird because we have a 13, so I'm just going to write a 3 next to that 1. All right? So I'm going to hit pause and finish that out. All right, so there's a stem plot for eighth period's data. And now I'm going to make one for third period going the opposite direction. So for that first value, I'm going to write a 2 right here. Then I'm going to write a 2 for the 12 right there. An 8, a 6, a 2, and then we have 2 7s for the 2 17s. And I think you get the idea, so I'm going to hit pause again. All right, so there's our comparative stem plot. If you count out where the median is, I believe both of these data sets have 22 observations, and the median in eighth period is 13 pairs of shoes, and the median for third period was 10.5. So I'm going to reference that whenever I compare CUS. So I want to compare the centers, anything unusual, the shape, and the spread. Talk about whether it's a difference or a similarity, and use context. So I would say the two centers are different. For LHS stat students, the median pairs of shoes are different. Third period was 10.5 pairs, or I don't have to say pairs because I already said it. And eighth is 13. So that is a difference between the two. I didn't see anything unusual between the two, so I'm going to jump right into spread. And that was a similarity, I would say. I mean, they were barely different with 35 versus 32. The spreads are very similar. With third having 2 to 32 and eighth, I'm going to run out of room, having 2 to 35. All right, lastly, shape. Both periods show positive skew. I'm going to write a long line here so I can fit it. With a peak at 5 to 9. They also both have a small peak at 25 to 29. Barely got enough room. All right, hopefully that makes sense. You want to compare cusps between the two groups. We ended class by going backwards in the packet to the miles per gallon data that y'all typed into the computer like 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, I can't even remember. And we just made one graph per class, so that's all I'm going to do here. I'm going to make a graph for third period's miles per gallon. And if you're in eighth period, maybe make a dot plot for yours. But we're doing a dot plot. So just more practice with dot plots. And I'm going to call this third period stats. Make a long number line. I'm going to find my min and my max for third period. And that looks like 17 to 58. Remember, a dot plot is very different from a stem plot. You just need a number scale. You don't have to represent every single digit on the number line. So I would start, if I remember right, in class we started with 15, and we went by 5s up to 60. So let's do that. And this is miles per gallon for car. And you just start making dots. Pile them up over the value. Try to be accurate. This one should be easy to stack accordingly. If ever you have a tiny, tiny scale where it's hard to distinguish between 20 and 21 on the scale, then you're okay to stack those. But this one should be easy to distinguish. So I'm just going to start making dots and hit pause. All right, there's my dot plot. I'm going to walk through cusps and describe the miles per gallon. For third period stats, miles per gallon for cars driven. The median, I believe there are 20 observations, and the 10th and the 11th falls right at 21. Yeah, because there's 6 dots on the 20, so 3 to the left, so that's 9, so 10 and 11, so 21. The median is 21 miles per gallon, and that is our center. Unusual, I see some gaps. I'm mainly just going to mention the big gap and the possible outlier. There is a huge gap. From 33 to 58 with 58 MPG being a possible outlier. MPG ranges from 17 to 58. The distribution, or you could just say MPG again, is positively skewed. Hopefully this is getting very memorized, where you walk through CUS and you talk about the center, unusual shape and spread, and it's very quick and easy, I hope. We also drew some smooth curves. So back to the dot plot. If I was to draw a smooth curve, whoops, I keep doing that. If I was to draw a smooth curve over our dots, this is what I'm drawing on the next slide. So imagine we have dots on some graph that is positively skewed or negatively skewed. That's what I'm drawing here. So for example, a positive skew has a smooth curve going like this. A negative skew has a smooth curve going like this. If it's normal, that means it is bell-shaped. And it's just a bell curve. You've probably seen it before. Gauss and the guys that discovered this said it looked like a bell, so they said it was bell-shaped, but we'll start using the word normal. If it's uniform, that means it's very flat. Not much is going on. I like to draw an X and Y axis for quadrant 1, and then I just draw a flat line. It may not be perfectly flat, but the bars or dots are relatively flat. It is symmetric, but not much is going on left to right. It's pretty similar across the board. If it's bimodal, that means it has 2 peaks. If it's multimodal, it has more than 2, or I guess more than 1. You could call bimodal multimodal. So something like that. Hope that makes sense. See y'all later.